WCLN 1170 Radio and Star Communications Channel 16 proudly present the We Should Know Show, an upbeat, informative look at people, places, and issues facing our community. This education-based analysis of issues will remain positive and informative. Now, here's your host, J.W. Simmons, as we consider closely what we should know.
We Should Know's on there. I'm J.W. Simmons, your host. It's always a pleasure to be here and have conversation with different people each and every week on subjects that impact your life, hoping to inform and educate you. Today, we're talking with Lynn Alexander. Lynn, you're with Sampson Regional Medical Center. And as I recall, your title here is Practice Management Director.
Yes, sir.
Tell us what that is and what that means.
So as the practice management director, I oversee all of Sampson Regional's outpatient family medicine or specialty clinics. We have 10 clinics. We have one surgery clinic. We have a women's center. We have eight family practice, and then an orthopedic clinic and a pain clinic.
So let's talk about some of those centers. One of the things you mentioned was the orthopedics.
Yes.
That's been there for some time, and we now have somebody else that's doing the medical part of that.
Yes. So Dr. Moriarty has moved into our Sampson Orthopedic Group building and has joined Sampson Regional Medical Center in September of this year. And he comes to us so that we can provide those services close to home and for our community. And so patients don't have to travel outside of Sampson County for those services.
How important is it for us to have a medical, quote, center in a rural area? As I've read in the past, that's a dwindling kind of thing. I just think there's something like 5 or 6 left in the state.
Yes, I think providing medical care in a rural location for a community is something that is, I guess, sought after anymore. And those patients have to go outside into the big city or things to receive the care that they feel like they need. And I think Sampson Regional has brought those providers into this area so that we can provide that big city care, if you would, close to home, so patients don't have to travel outside of their community to receive those things. There are things that they will have to travel for, but a lot of those things can be done close to home and in our own facilities here in Sampson County.
In your role as a practice management director, do you look at these different areas that Sampson Regional offers and look at it kind of as a transition point oftentimes in which if it were not there, the question would be, what would folks do?
I think so. I think that if we didn't have these services here, you'd see a lot of people that would have to travel to Raleigh or those surrounding areas to receive even basic family medicine care, which is something that can help manage their hypertension, their diabetes, or anything other medical related conditions. With orthopedics, this is allowing the patients who maybe break their foot playing football or their ankle playing football or their wrist playing pickleball or something. This allows them to have a provider that they can see in the area and at Sampson Regional and have their follow-up care in the same community as they live.
When I think about orthopedics, I think a lot about older folks. Not that I would know anything about older folks, but I think a lot about older folks in the sense of the kinds of things that the aging process happens. Does orthopedics also play a role in that, or is it more in just an accident-prone thing?
No, absolutely. So as we age, we all notice that we have a little bit more pain in areas, or our joints ache when it gets colder, or different things like that. And orthopedics brings to us the ability to manage some of those arthritic conditions. You can have joint injections, you can have knee replacement, hip replacement, shoulder replacement. There's other things that they can do to help with even things as simple as your finger, where you develop a trigger digit. And those types of things can be taken care of in the orthopedic clinic. There's some outpatient things that need to happen. Your total joints. So if you have a total knee or a total hip, those are outpatient procedures where you stay in the hospital for maybe 24 hours and then you're able to go home and manage your therapy outside of the facility.
What kind of challenge is it? Is it a big challenge, small challenge, not a challenge at all for Sampson Regional Medical Center to be able to attract these kinds of medical specialists that have the medical degrees in these kinds of fields to this area? Is there certain things you guys do? How do you go about finding them? Is there something online you go and everybody's just clamoring to come here, or how does that work?
No, I think it's probably the hardest thing that they have, is to find those specialists that are willing to come to a rural community, to provide these services. And so to find someone like Dr. Moriarty, who is willing to come to Sampson County, I think is a huge benefit to the community and to the organization. Living in a rural area, I think, is great. And those of us that live here love the rural communities. But it's hard to attract physicians or mid-levels to come to the area just because of that rural area and not having all the things available to them to treat the patients, I think.
With that said, there seems to be, it's almost like we're in a fantastic place in that we've got a lot of medical centers within easy proximity. When I look at Rex or look at Duke, or we can look at Vidant, or even over at Cape Fear now is associated with Methodist University. I understand it has a medical school, so you've got all of these real close by to us. Is that a huge advantage that these docs can transfer people? And does it work that way?
I think it is an advantage. I think that the smaller communities, right, or smaller facilities complement or work well with those larger ones, whereas we know our strengths and we know that we have these resources available that we can transfer to as well. But I also think there's a lot to be said for what we have available here in Sampson County.
Now, as in your role as, again, practice management director, do you reach out and connect with the medical folks that work here and decide to come here? Are you part of that team that either investigates, interviews, or discusses, or promotes? How does that work?
So we have a recruiting team that handles all of our physician recruitment or provider recruitment. And I'm involved in that process towards the end when we decide, hey, we want this person to come here and interview with us and see what we're about, and so we can see what they're about. That's when I get involved with that process. So there's people in the background who are doing all that searching and that footwork to find those people to come here.
One of the things that I was talking with somebody just recently about medical doctors and come into this area, and one of the things that they said they often do if they're somewhere else, whether it's Duke or wherever, and it's a young doctor or something, they go, have you ever thought about coming to a rural area to work and this kind of thing? Is that bizarre? Is that unusual to hear somebody say they do that? Is that something you even recommend, or would you rather folks listening today or viewing us today kind of stay out of it and let y'all handle it?
No, I think it's a benefit. I think there's something to be said for the rural community and educating people, if you would, about the importance of having those things in our area, as well as the benefits of living in those areas. It is a matter of preference, right? If you want to live in the big city or if you want to live in a rural community. But I do think that there's something to be said in all of us sharing that in that recruitment process or encouragement process to bringing those people to us. So
it's kind of the more the better. It's like if you visit a place at the beach or somewhere, you know where a nice resort is and you're having a conversation about it, you want to share that.
Yeah, yes, absolutely.
So the same thing with folks here that enjoy living in this landscape. It's good for us to remember, we're always part of recruiting.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Yes.
When you look at what you do and again, I keep referring back to this practice management director, do you work directly with the medical folks after they get here, and what does that look like? Yes. So as providers onboard or join our clinics, I work in the background, I would say. I work directly with them a lot of times to set up their clinics, to make sure that they have what they need to run an efficient clinic or to provide care for their patients. We make sure that they have adequate staffing and the day-to-day operations are functional. So
Once they join us, I have direct contact with them constantly, making sure that they have what they need to run a sufficient clinic for our patients.
Is sometimes the location of actually moving here, is that a priority, or could somebody be a practicing physician here and maybe live in an adjacent community, whether it's Fayetteville or Raleigh or somewhere close by, even Wilmington? Is that practical, or is it important for that physician that is coming here to actually live in the community?
I think depending on their role or their specialty, it would depend greatly on where they lived. So if you're someone who needs to be on call or needs to be close to the facility to care for a patient in an emergent situation, then you'd want to live within the community. And also depending on your preference of commute. If you only want to drive 10 minutes to work, then you should probably live here.
Yeah.
But if you're okay with that 30, 40-minute drive, I think it's okay to live outside of our community. We, of course, want to grow our community and keep people here. And so having them live here is a benefit. But I don't think it should be a deterrent from coming to the...
So that said, somebody like an orthopedic surgeon, from what you're saying, it sounds like they would need to live here, because if somebody does break their ankle or their leg and they end up in the ER, if they're not here, likely they'll have to be shipped out.
Yes. So having them in or close to home or close to the facility is a huge benefit, because it allows our patients to receive the care that they need at our facility without having to be sent to Raleigh or somewhere else for those services.
And that sounds practical in the sense that oftentimes folks maybe are not in a position that even moving them from the hospital is even probably considered, simply because of their condition.
Yes. Yeah.
So when we come back, we're going to take a break. When we come back, I'd like to kind of get into that whole area of technology, and since you've been involved in this business, how you're seeing it change over time with new technology, advancements in the way you even deal with treating people, and the visual aspect of off-site doctors always fascinates me. Ladies and gentlemen, stay tuned. We'll be back in a moment. We're talking with Lynn Alexander, the Practice Management Director at Sampson Regional Medical Center. Stay tuned.
Welcome to Cork and Brew Roseboro, where you can enjoy your favorite coffee, fraps, smoothies, bakery items, sandwiches, and select beer and wines while reconnecting with friends and family. Sit down and enjoy the experience. Come on by and give us a try.
Providing fewer commutes, more backyard offices, and crystal clear meetings. Providing less, you froze up, and more presence in your presentations. Providing a better internet experience. Providing possible.
You're out for an evening on the town. Finally a chance to relax and forget that you left your front door completely unlocked. Fortunately, you just installed a security system from Star Communications. With just your cell phone, you can check on your house, lock it down, light it up, and get back to relaxing.
He forgot to put Buster in his crate.
Unfortunately, we can't help with that. Security and automation from Star Communications. Call today to find out more.
At the Reedy Mark, we take pride in a unique, distinguished customer experience. We specialize in handcrafted cocktails, allocated bourbons, as well as gourmet signature food items exclusive to our menu at the Reedy Mark in Roseboro.
Welcome back, folks. J.W. Simmons here. The name of the show is We Should Know. I want to thank you for being with us today. We're coming to you on Star Communications TV, Channel 16. Also simulcast on WCLN Radio. I'm coming to you from Clinton, North Carolina, bringing you a show each and every week about things, people, places, persons, just information that could be beneficial to you, and maybe you will be informed. Hopefully you will be educated a bit, and like me, each and every week, learn more about what's happening in our community and what benefits you and your family as you live here, as maybe you decide to move here. Today, we're talking about a very important part of our community that folks have become to depend on, and hopefully will continue to grow and expand, called Sampson Regional Medical Center. And we're fortunate to have Lynn Alexander with us, practicing management director. And I have to look down to make sure I get that title correctly, Lynn. When we look at that title, we think about, or I think about like somebody that looks at the various medical offerings at Sampson Regional and kind of make sure that they are serving the community in a positive way, that they're a good fit for the community, whether it's orthopedic surgery or some of the other ones that you have discussed. What is your biggest challenge in the job you're in? What kind of gives you pause occasionally and you think, if I had this or if I had that, or, you know, some other thing that just gives you the biggest weight for your job other than being on this show today?
I think the biggest weight is probably trying to make sure we have enough access to care, right? Do we have enough providers? Do we have enough hours in the day to see the patients that need to be seen or that want to be seen?
Using that thread, I want to follow that for a minute. And enough providers means enough people in the various medical fields, I guess I should say, whether it's surgery, whether it's hospital docs, whether it's somebody that does dermatology, whatever it may be.
Yeah, it's making sure that you have all of your family medicine care, right? And making sure that that preventative care for patients is happening regularly and that they have access to that. But also your specialty care, your cardiology, your orthopedics, your general surgery, your women's health, all of those things, making sure that we have those services available to the community and that we have enough hours in the day to see those patients, right? Or availability of appointments. I think that's probably one of the biggest things. As the community grows, you also want your bandwidth to grow.
And one of the other areas, do you also work with the folks that, like, say, for example, with Rex that comes down and they do not live here, but they come and they interview patients and that kind of thing from Rex? That seems to be an important part of the hospital campus out there, is to have people like that are willing to come here and do personal analysis and so forth. It's maybe referred from a PA or one of our folks at the medical center. Yeah, I think so. We have lots of relationships with those supporting providers that come here and maybe see patients a couple of times a week or once a week to provide those services. Most of our clinics have developed relationships with those specialty providers to where we can refer our patients to them when they're coming here, so they can still stay in their community to receive that care without having to travel. I'm often asked the question about talking with someone in recovery, a person that comes here, maybe they need recovery from, I don't know, a knee transplant or something. Does the hospital still have that capability of sending folks locally to go through that kind of recovery therapy, which is critically important? Because I think people are there may be a little confusion in the fact that we've got a YMCA now. So has that part of that facility gone away, or is it still there to work with folks? So we still have the outpatient rehab center. We have physical therapists there, occupational therapists, and I believe speech therapy as well. So those services can all be done close to home, and patients, if they choose to travel out for their surgery, but they want their therapy close to home, we have a great team at our outpatient rehab center that can provide those services as well. That's right there on the corner of Beeman and Johnson Street. Yes, it is connected to the YMCA. Don't get confused that whole facility is not completely YMCA. That outpatient area is still functioning. Yes, absolutely. That's a good point to know. The other thing that's interesting, and just picking up some threads here I'm thinking about from the literature I've read, there seems to be now, over the past probably at least decade, maybe a little bit more, but at least the past decade, and even more so in the past 5 or 6 years, this overlap between physical health and behavioral health. Is there any potential in the future that Sampson Regional will get into psychiatric care with, and when I say that, not just, not that it's not important, not counseling, but literally a medical doctor that is a psychiatrist, which causes them to be a psychiatrist. Is that something that's just not we don't have the financial wherewithal to have a person with that specialty here, or is that not part of the medical arena?
I think, so I can't speak directly to it. I think it's a service that the hospital or the organization would like to offer. I think it goes back to what we talked about earlier, is that recruitment, right? And people wanting to come to the area and live here, and what can we get here to be able to provide the services to the patients without the access being, I guess, cut short. I do think that it's something that the organization's looking at because it is a widespread issue. I think we see it in our family medicine clinics. We see it in our ERs probably and throughout. But I definitely think that it's something that they're exploring, but I don't know that they have the resources that they need to bring it in right now.
And I think one of the things that the evolution that's occurring in behavioral health historically is, as we look back, behavioral health had like a local entity that actually worked with the county, and they were like part of the county. Then it evolved into multiple counties, and now the one we're connected with has evolved to 46 counties, a multi-billion-dollar operation. Yeah. So it's gotten so large. Sometimes I have people to say, I just feel like I don't know anybody, and it's so important in a rural area. Folks like to know people. They like to know a little bit about them. They like to have people that, show up at those sports games and that somebody in their family says, well, I know, just like I know Lynn Alexander, she works at the hospital. They like to have that connection. How important is that for the hospital from a PR perspective?
I think it's extremely important. I think it's important that the community know who their providers are. Now, again, it goes back to that bandwidth, right? And making sure that they have the time to see their patients, but also participate in those functions. But it's important. It's important that we know our providers, that we have that relationship with them, that our kids recognize their doctor when they're standing at the football game or on the sidelines or something. It connects that care and it makes it feel more close to home, if you would, versus that quick run through of care and not knowing who you're seeing and wondering who you're seeing. And I do think that at Sampson Regional, we have that. We have providers who live in our community, who work within our community. Their kids go to school in our community. And there's those connections that our patients can develop with their provider as well as friends.
So building that relationship with the providers and selecting those people, and particularly I kind of keep moving into the recruitment area, and I might be getting out of your space, but that particular area seems to me to be kind of critical to get the providers that you deal with on a daily basis and to reach out to those people. I think the other part that strikes me is the availability of the newest quote and latest technology. Is that something that Sampson Regional is able to keep up with as far as the financial base? Because really local hospitals, a lot of the reason that they just can't foresee the future financially is it's just not there to be able to sustain. And then you throw technology into it, which oftentimes adds to that cost.
So I can't speak directly to this, but I can tell you that I think that our administration team or as an organization works very hard to make sure that we have the things that we need and the technology that we need as providers to make sure that we're caring for our patients and bringing the latest and greatest to the community.
Whether it's a new scan machine or whether it's some other device or some x-ray machine, those kinds of things I think are improving over time, just like our cell phones are.
Absolutely,
they all of a sudden change, and all of a sudden we got to spend you guys would have to spend another $2 or $3 million, and you're going, what's going on here? So it's almost like a challenge, but at the same time, I think the community's like, we don't want to lose our hospital.
Yep. Yes.
So you keep kind of mixing that.
Yep.
What's the biggest thing now you look at when you look at the practices, people that have actually practicing physicians at the hospital? Who has the most volume there? Who has the biggest number of folks coming in? Is it the women's folks? Is it men's? Is it orthopedics? What do you say?
I think we have between our 8 practices of family medicine, right, we have a great influx of patients coming for preventative care. When you're looking at that specialty care, definitely our orthopedic service line it's growing. I mean, it's flourishing in reality to what we were expecting. And then our pain center as well, Carolina Pain Center, that clinic is also provides a great service to the community, and is one of our busier clinics as well.
So when you say pain center, I want to kind of follow up on that. We're going to come up on a break here in about 30 seconds, but I want to follow up on that and kind of get a little bit of information about what that is, what a pain center does, and maybe explain, if you could, how it might benefit folks if they've never heard of it, but yet they're having a pain issue. It might be something they need to look at. And how do you kind of guide them today as you're talking to all these folks out there, the difference between that and just saying, okay, I'm going to make an appointment with an orthopedic person, and I might could have checked with the pain people to start with, or how do you make that from a, I guess, consumer point of view, how do you make that decision in a rational way? So when we come back, I'll let you address that and we'll keep moving.
Perfect.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being with us. We'll be back in a moment. Stay tuned, call a friend. We're talking with Lynn Alexander, Sampson Regional Medical Center.
Computer viruses, malware, and ransomware are out there. They're dangerous, and they can steal your identity and damage your equipment. Star Communications is now offering Protect IQ. The service adds an extra layer of protection to every device connected to your network. Working quietly in the background, Star can help you protect yourself from the inside out with Protect IQ. Call Star today and take advantage of this free service when you sign up for whole home Wi-Fi with Star Communications.
How can your friend save you money? It's easy. Refer a relative, coworker, neighbor, or friend to Star Communications. Friend signs up for high-speed internet service. Friend's new account is confirmed. Friend gives your name to our service representative as the one who referred them to Star. You receive a $30 internet credit. It's just that simple. And even better, receive a $30 internet credit for every referral that results in a new confirmed account. High-speed internet from Star Communications. Refer a friend today.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Thank you for being with us today. We're talking about Sampson Regional Medical Center. We're talking with Lynn Alexander. She's the Practice Management Director at Sampson Regional Medical Center. I hope you guys are enjoying the show today. I certainly am, and learning a lot from Lynn. Lynn, I think one of the important things in talking with you, you can speak a lot to the various practices we got out at the hospital. And when we went to break, we were talking about this whole kind of thing of how we look at that smorgasbord of practices. And you mentioned pain clinic. And I think I was trying to build a thought on that. And it just struck me that, okay, a pain clinic, I'm hurting and maybe it's my foot, or maybe I just have a headache all the time. I go to my general practice doctor or my RN or whoever it may be at the medical clinic, and did they refer me to a pain clinic, or can I just go to a pain clinic and say, I'm in pain, make it go away? How does that work?
So at Carolina Pain, you would need a referral to be seen. So you would see your primary care doctor. And Dr. Marcos, who is the physician at our Carolina Pain Center, he sees patients who have chronic pain or pain after surgery, things like that, that's ongoing, prolonged pain. And he has some interventional things that he works with patients, doing injections, different things like that. Your referral base would come after you've seen your primary care. They'll send us a referral, and then Dr. Marcos will review that to make sure that you're a candidate for his practice, and then we would get you scheduled with him. It is one of our busier practices, so there is a little bit of a wait list to see him, but we try to get you in a timely manner so that we can address those pain issues that you're having and manage that pain.
I can see where that would be a big issue for a lot of people, because they would. It just seems to me, if you could get a referral from your doctor to the pain clinic, what I would be looking for is something that would make the pain go away, so somebody wouldn't have to cut my foot open or do whatever, that's going to be long-term rehab. Is that even practical to think like that, or should folks just say, let my, GP, general practitioner, tell me what to do and then follow that? So there's no way to actually get into the pain clinic unless you do go through the GP.
I think you would want to definitely start with your PCP and then work through there, because there's things that they're going to do. They're going to order scans. They might order an x-ray, different things, so that they can actually see what's going on. And that would complement the Carolina Pain Center to make sure that he has what he needs to see what's going on and treat you accordingly and help manage that pain so that it's not chronic use of maybe pain pills or something like that. He helps to develop a plan that will help treat that pain in the long run.
I think it's interesting that statistically he's got a lot of patients, and I guess the obvious observation is that we got a lot of people in pain.
Yes.
I mean, for a small area. I mean, you think about it, he's got a lot of patients, but we're talking a county with supposedly 60,000 people. So out of that, that's not very many people when you compare it to somewhere like Raleigh or Johnston County or some of our larger counties.
I think you're looking at a lot of neck injuries, back injuries, things like that. Anything from a simple motor vehicle accident can cause the need for a referral to see him, or an injury from falling off of a ladder, or maybe somewhere you lifted wrong and years down the road now you need to see a pain doctor because you just can't get that pain under control because it's just been going on for so long that now it's hit a point where maybe you've developed so much arthritis that it just is painful all the time.
And that's the kind of thing that he would address and be able to, and I'm going to use the word help with. I don't know there's a thing where it just makes it completely go away. But a part of that is the aging process, is it not?
It is, but I think that being able to see him and understand exactly what that condition is would allow the patient and him to develop a plan, whether that's a referral to a different specialist so that they can operate or treat that in a different manner, or for him to do some interventions such as injections or anything into the back or the neck to help maybe eliminate some of that pain for a long-standing period.
Are these practices that you have oversight, are they on the property of Regional Medical Center there, or are they in outside properties on separate locations in town? Where are they located?
So we have a clinic in Spivey's Corner, and that's a family medicine clinic. Dr. Fitzgerald is our physician that sees patients there, and they're open Monday through Thursday from 8 to 5, and then Fridays 8 to 12. And then you have Howerton Family Medicine, which is in Roseboro, that follows those same hours, and that has Dr. Amy Howerton, Dr. Sean Howerton, and Dr. Eric Wu. And then we have a clinic in Newton Grove, family medicine as well, and Amanda Harrington, who is a PA, who sees patients out of that clinic. And then in Clinton, we have Sampson Convenient Care, where Dr. Curry and Abigail Lamarca are, and they see same-day walk-ins and family medicine care.
That's on Beeman Street, right?
Yes. And then you have Sampson Medical Group, which is our resident clinic as well. And they see family medicine, and there's several resident physicians in there, as well as 2 attendings, which is Dr. Maddie and Dr. Miller. And then you have Carolina Pain Center, Dr. Marcos here in Clinton, Sampson Orthopedic Group with Dr. Moriarty here in Clinton, and then Dr. Varelli's office, family medicine as well, and he's here in Clinton.
Is he at the professional building?
He is in the professional building. Sampson Surgical Services is in the professional building as well with Dr. Mendible and Dr. Fleury, who are general surgeons. And then Sampson Women's Center is Dr. Augustine, and they're in the professional building as well.
So we've got a proliferation of things going on here, and I'm glad you mentioned the new clinic that's at Spivey's Corner. That's just north on 421 there on a new property. How is that going? Because this is like the first year or second year it's been open?
This is the first year, so we just hit that threshold of being there a year. And it's growing. There's a lot of patients who needed care out there, and I think we're getting them coming from all angles, right? But Dr. Fitzgerald's practice is growing, and we're seeing a lot of new patients out there. And there were some that followed her from Clinton, but she's also seeing a lot of new patients from the Dunn area and surrounding areas like Newton Grove and stuff as well.
And the one at Newton Grove, is that I believe you said that was a PA, correct?
Yes, Amanda Harrington. She's been there for quite a while. That practice is well established, if you would. She's got a full schedule. She's got a little bit of a waiting list to get in to see her as well. But she is a busy family medicine clinic.
Well, for urgent care, for example, if somebody has a urgent need, I mean, they wake up and their neck is swollen up and they're hurting and, and extremely pain and that kind of thing. Do they go to the ER or do they go to an urgent care? How do you recommend they get assistance knowing that this is, say, for example, on the weekend and, there's obviously limited supply to, is that an ER thing? Because you don't want to overflow the ER, but help us understand how you deal with that.
So at Sampson Convenient Care, we do take walk-ins. Our clinic is open Monday through Friday. We have extended hours at Sampson Convenient Care, so open until 8 p.m. And those patients like that can walk in. Now, if that happens on a weekend, I would start with an urgent care, but if you can't start with an urgent care, then of course our ER is open and available to see patients, and they have a fast track area in the ER as well that I think is for those maybe less emergent. I don't have a lot of experience with the fast track, but I know that service is available there and is similar to that backup of an urgent care, if you would.
But we don't have locally anywhere that qualifies for the title of trauma center, do we?
Not aside from your ER. No, I don't believe so.
Yeah. I mean, is the ER a trauma? And by the reason I'm asking that question is somebody was explaining to me a while back that a trauma center had to have on hand at all times a physician, and there was some definition that went with, quote, trauma center.
Well, we always have a physician in our ER. I don't know if we're designated as a trauma center. I can't speak to that. But I can tell you that anything that comes in, we have physicians available in our ER at all times, 24/7. There's always a physician in there that can triage that patient, treat that patient, and get that patient to where they need to be.
And that's the key, I think, is getting that person that has whatever situation it is, either to the right physician, or if that physician can treat it, they can treat it there at the ER. But the key is getting the right pairing together.
Yes,
is what I'm hearing you say.
Yep.
And folks, when they go to the ER, oftentimes you hear folks say, well, there's really nobody there and I didn't have to wait, whatever. But should they be prepared to wait for a bit before they're going to be seen?
Absolutely. I think in the emergency room, it's you never know what you're going to get, right? And so depending on what they have back in the back or what coming in, you never know how many patients they're going to see because it's a walk-in. And so you always want to know that you have an option, or not an option, but you have the possibility of waiting to be seen, just depending on the level of care that those that are around you or in there as well need. And so, of course, the patients that need care immediately are going to get that care. And everybody's important and needs that care. But I think it's important to know that there might be a little bit of a wait while they're taking care of everybody that came in.
And the other thing I think is goes along with that is you're dealing also with accidents, everything from traffic accidents to somebody falling to whatever may happen that are unforeseen. It's not like you can schedule people and say, okay, you're not going to have to wait over 45 minutes. It's impossible to do.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
And with one physician, that kind of loads the cart, so to speak, against being able to walk in. And I don't know that you could ever just walk in, just go right on back and see somebody. I mean, that's kind of...
Yeah, I can't speak to the staffing model in the ER just because I'm not in the ER. I know we always have a physician on staff, but I also think we have support staff as well, such as a physician's assistant or other physicians in the building that can help. And so I'm not exactly sure what that staffing model looks like, but I do know they should be prepared to have a little bit of a wait when they come to the ER, just because we can't tell, like you said, what those unforeseen circumstances are.
Absolutely. We're coming up on our last segment.
Okay.
And we're going to take a break. When we come back, we got a lot of stuff we need to talk about, so we're going to try to get it in. Doing a great job. Thank you for being with us. We're going to be back. Ladies and gentlemen, stay tuned. We'll be back in a moment. Come on, the last part of the show, where again, we're talking with Lynn Alexander, Sampson Regional Medical Center, and she's the Practice Management Director. Stay tuned. We'll be back in a moment.
At Fisher's, it's not just about fashion. It's about exceptional service. Experience top-notch customer care and find your perfect look. Visit Fisher's today and feel the difference.
Experiencing slow internet? If you have a fast internet package, the problem is most likely your wireless router. With more devices using Wi-Fi, your wireless router may not be able to deliver the speed and coverage you need. We now have the leading solution to enhance your internet experience. Using small devices in a mesh network, these Wi-Fi appliances cover just about any size home so that all your devices can operate to their fullest potential. Whole home Wi-Fi from Star Communications. Get the most out of your internet connection.
If you run a business, you need sales. To get sales, you need customers. To get customers, you need exposure. Let our team of experts craft and produce the perfect video ad to reach your intended audience while making the most of your advertising dollars. Call 1-800-706-6538 or visit starcom.net to contact our Star Communications production team and get your business moving to the next level.
The average American household has 17 devices connected to the internet. With more and more devices able to get online, you may need to increase your internet speed. Call Star Communications today and let us help you select the package that's right for you.
Welcome back, folks. J.W. Simmons here. We Should Know is the name of the show. We're on the air today. We're talking about medicine. More importantly, we're talking about the availability of medical care in your area in Clinton, North Carolina, with Sampson Regional Medical Center. Our guest is Lynn Alexander, Practice Management Director. Lynn, we've talked about a lot of things today, and we're coming on this last part of the show. And I think it's important for folks to understand when you first sat down and we started in this conversation, we have now learned there's like 8 different practices that you kind of have oversight for at Sampson Regional Medical Center. You know, I want to just kind of go down that list again of each one of those practices that you mentioned, and mention those again because I've just struck me as I made a little side note here. A lot of folks probably would hear that and they'll go, what? 8 different areas that is available, and it's a close drive, and I don't have to wait in traffic, and I'm not worried about 8-lane traffic trying to get in and out of offices and some of our adjoining areas. So just list those 8 for us again, and then we'll take it from there.
Yeah. So we have a clinic in Spivey's Corner, which is a family medicine clinic. We have a clinic in Newton Grove, which is family medicine as well. We have a clinic in Roseboro, Howerton Family Medicine. Then there is Sampson Medical Group, which is here in Clinton. And then you have Dr. Varelli's office, which is also family medicine. Then you have Sampson Orthopedic Group, which is our new orthopedic office. Carolina Pain Center, which we reviewed earlier. Sampson Women's Center, and then Sampson Surgical Services, which are all here in Clinton.
That's a huge, when you gather them all in one room, that's a lot of different things going on. And the moving parts, it's almost like, you know, if we keep going with this, you'll probably have one. Not that I'm suggesting anything, but you'll probably have one down in like Ivanhoe and Delway and Harrells and that area, because I mean, you got them all over the place.
Yes,
and it's important to know these. I mean, these are not Dollar Generals, but they are medical generals out there. Yes. They're there to help facilitate the healthcare needs of this community.
Absolutely. I think it brings a good service to the community. And as you expand that footprint, that's more services that you can provide and more continuity of care, if you would.
And what does this mean, not only to you, but what should it mean to folks listening? When I say a nonprofit, independent medical hospital, which is different than a for-profit entity, how should we take that conversation?
a nonprofit or a nonprofit organization, to me, it's providing a service to a community without looking at the bottom line, right? We're not looking as to what can we make off of this. It's what can we provide to our community. We're not looking to make a dollar. We're looking to provide a service to a community and to the people in our community so that they don't have to go outside of our community.
And that's critically important today when you think about where we are, because there's so many people out there that may be listening today. In fact, there's probably folks that may have been putting off a medical need or a pain that has been there for some time, and they just said, well, I don't really have any insurance or anything of that nature. Not that I'm trying to saturate you guys with, with people that don't have insurance, but that's a real part of what you do. I mean, you don't turn those folks away.
We do not. Sampson Regional has a charity program that's built within our system. So for those patients who don't have insurance, they have an option to fill out an application to see if they qualify for those services from Sampson Regional. We also have a Medicaid expansion program within the facility where we have people who are financial counselors who can sit down and meet with patients to help them apply for Medicaid or things like that if they don't have those resources available to them. So we offer an array of services that we can help patients to be able to get the care that they need without having to wait or prolong it just because they don't have insurance.
So this is a question, I'm going to stage the question so you understand where it's coming from. Recently, I've had school superintendents, both the city and county superintendents, and we discussed different things about education. And one of the things, and I'll explain the relationship here, is that one of the things we talked about is the huge number of increase of Latinos, folks from different countries, language capabilities and that kind of thing in this area. And it was significant as far as the numbers they were talking about. So my question for a medical person that has kind of oversight of eight different areas here, how do you deal with that, with the language barriers? Do you see an increase in that population of those folks seeking medical help? And what should we interpret from all of that you see that we don't see?
So I would say that language barriers is something that we struggle with, right? And I think in any healthcare facility you would. Sampson Regional has a service that we provide or that we utilize. It's called Propio, and it's an interpreter service. And so we get them on. They're certified medical interpreters. And so we can have them on the line and they can communicate with the patient and the provider to be that liaison to help them understand what the provider's saying and needing of them, and help the provider understand what the patient's experiencing without having any of those barriers where we're trying to interpret what they're saying or that they need.
They can interpret that straightforward comment that patient may have that is typically maybe not perfect Spanish or whatever the language may be, is something part of maybe the colloquial slang. They can interpret that. Absolutely. Just like they can my long draws on my vowels. Yes. It's and it's a service that we have that if a patient calls in, we can call this service and we can connect them to the same phone call so that we have that interpreter as well. As in the clinic, we have the service that we can call. And do you have have you noticed an increased number of those folks reaching out for medical care?
I don't know if I've seen an increase as much as I feel like it's almost an equal spread across the board as to what we're seeing with all of the patients. I don't know that it's more than it was maybe a year ago, but it's about the same.
Yeah. So what would you say to all the folks watching and listening? What is their role in helping folks understand what you see every day? What can they do if something comes up and somebody says, well, I just don't understand. I didn't get so-and-so, or something didn't happen at Sampson Regional. Do you recommend, instead of spreading negative words about it, what should they do? I don't want your phone ringing all the time. I'm just saying. No.
I think, when it comes to the outpatient setting, it's important to have a person that you can call. And in my area, that's me. Sure. And so from an outpatient perspective, if you have an issue, I think reaching out to the person that's in charge of that department to help them understand what your experience was. Because a lot of times with 9 practices, I don't see everything that happens day in and day out. And so it's important that they have that person that they can communicate and that I hear those things. From an inpatient perspective on that side of it, I think it's important. We have a quality and risk manager that you can call and talk to. Her name's Kimberly Titzer. I think it's important that she's aware of those situations as well. And so even if you called the hospital and said that you had a bad experience or something, there's a person that they can connect you with to talk about that. And I think it's important that you make us aware of those things versus just maybe a bad comment somewhere or something like that, or a bad Google review. Because there are things that we can do to make it better. And I'm a firm believer in, if we don't know, we can't fix it. And so it's important that we know those things so that we can help try to make it better for both the patient and the community.
And that part of it, I think, is part of the healthcare cycle, is understanding how you not only engage in that cycle, but what your expectations should be. And I think you've done a great job on explaining the expectation part, how you get engaged in it. And the key thing that I think we all agree on, we don't want anybody left out. Yep. We want, if there's an issue, if you have a problem, they can either reach out to you, they can show up at the ER, they can go to one of the clinics in several of the areas you've mentioned. And can they find this information online that we've discussed today?
Yep. On the Sampson Regional website, there's information about all of our practices. There's their contact information. There's paperwork. You can, if you want to make an appointment and you want to fill out your paperwork before you come for your appointment, that paperwork's available.
Save time for you.
Yeah. And so it's a great website. It tells all about us, tells about Sampson Regional and its history, and it's got some great resources.
I think it's an excellent opportunity for folks not only to hear from you, but to have a deeper and better understanding of what may benefit them, particularly from the pain area, or if they're suffering from some situation, they keep putting it off. There's no need to put that off. Plus, from what I can understand, the kind of my last, I guess, probing question here, if they have a behavioral health issue, I mean, if they're seeing pink elephants fly over the house or something, you can get them mental health. Or if they just have an anxiety issue and can't sleep, again, something behavioral is affecting them. It's not necessarily a medical treatment. They maybe just need to see a psychologist or some counselor.
Yeah, in those situations, I would recommend seeing their primary care provider or their family medicine provider, explaining to them what they're experiencing.
If they have one.
Yeah, if they have one. If not, I have eight options for them that they can get in. And I think it's important to have those conversations with your PCP because those things can all come from a number of things. And so I think it's important that you start there and they can connect you with a proper person to support those needs.
Well, Lynn, you've done a great job today bringing this information about Sampson Regional Medical Center and the options that's there, that is literally moved out into the community, that's close to where people are, that if somebody's in need, they don't have to worry about it. Go there and someone will be there to help you and walk you through that process. And you're constantly looking over that and listening in the community to find out what's going on.
Yes.
Thank you very much for being
thank
here.
You.
And we look forward maybe to having you back again and talking about, hey, occasionally you can bring Dr. Howerton with you, but it seems like we got him covered today too. So, and then of course we've enjoyed having him on in the past as well.
Yes.
So ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being with us today. We look forward to seeing you again right here on We Should Know, bringing you again information and education that helps you, your family, and your community at large. See you next week and may God bless.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of We Should Know with host J.W. Simmons. If you have a question, comment, or suggestion regarding this or any episode, please send your emails to weshouldknowedu@gmail.com. And remember to tune in every Tuesday at 2:30 for another informative episode of We Should Know.